During his last globe-hopping trip, Miles Morales became the unwitting champion of the spider god ANANSI. But what happens when this brand new godly partnership ends up bringing godly new threats? Well, let's hop into the pages of Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 32 and find out together, shall we? So then, as we kick off this brand new arc, Miles is in the middle of yet another therapy session with his doctor, Dr. Quan. This actually ends up serving as a fun, funny, and kind of clever way to get the readers up to speed on everything that's been happening in the last several arcs, and indeed, it's been a lot. Oh, you know, doctor, I was just a vampire for a little bit, then I went to Wakanda, made a deal with an ancient African trickster god, and made it home in just enough time to save my adopted clone brother from getting murdered by a bunch of assassins. Oh, his name is Jaime now, by the way, and he's decided that he wants to live a more individual existence, independent from me, which Miles is honestly all in favor for, though he does feel pretty bad that Shift almost died before he could open up to him about his personal feelings. Doesn't exactly feel very responsible or very Spider-Man of him, huh? Dr. Quan tells Miles not to beat himself up too hard, that he lives an interesting life with a lot of extenuating circumstances, and the fact that he is thinking about these things more deeply only goes to show that these therapy sessions are working, but therapy, much like jogging, only works if you keep at it. It only gets easier if you do it every day. Also, apparently Dr. Quan is moving her offices to New York City. Miles offers to help her, what with his amazing spider strength, only for Quan to say she's quite the gym rat herself, implying that she actually has super strength too, much like her uncle Doc Sasquatch. Now it's after that we transition on over to something completely different. Who remembers Zephyr, the lame wind-themed villain with an ancient Greek gimmick from several arcs ago? Well, we see him again in prison making license plates, only here's the big reveal. Turns out he's not actually a loser villain with a demigod gimmick. No, he's just a real wind-based demigod, who just happens to also be a loser supervillain. He's in prison feeling bad for himself when he ends up getting accosted by Ares, who makes the same deal to Zephyr as he made to Agent Gao. Basically, become my brand new dog of war, accept my boon, kill Spider-Man, and in return I will make you a full divine being. Now Zephyr might be a loser, but surprisingly he's not actually dumb. He knows that going to war with Spider-Man would mean going to war with his god benefactor ANANSI, something that he thought the Olympian gods couldn't do. Only for Ares to kind of cut the legs right out from under him by saying, dude, you're a demigod. I mean, you're basically a demigod. You're barely Olympian at all. You won't be breaking any sacred ancient oaths by fighting him on my behalf, dummy. Now back over with Miles, he returns to school after a long absence, only to find Judge angry with him. It seems that Shift had borrowed his copy of 2K and never gave it back. I actually especially like this scene too, not just because it reestablishes Miles's regular everyday friends, but in a rare instance, Genki and Bennett speak around Miles and Judge in their native languages, in this case Korean and Laos. Huh, how about that? It's also kind of funny to see the shoe on the other foot for once. Usually it's Shift cleaning up after Miles's messes, but now Miles has to actually deal with decisions that Shift made. Though sadly, one decision that's still weighing on Miles quite heavily is the deal he cut with ANANSI, who once again returns to make his life all the more difficult. You know, I didn't even clock it at first, but it actually makes perfect thematic sense. ANANSI is a trickster god of stories, and one of the big things Cody Ziegler did for Miles in this new run is making him a creative writing major. ANANSI pops up to try and give Miles some warning. Hey man, so I know you're kind of riding with me now, and riding with me means you're also gonna have to deal with all my old enemies. And because I am a god, even D-list losers like Zephyr can track you down during the day in civilian mode, so, you know, maybe get ready for that, and also maybe tell all your classmates to get down. Which is exactly what Miles does, and not a moment too soon either, as all the windows in the school end up exploding. Thankfully, Miles can go invisible just long enough to suit up and deal with the problem. Obviously, Miles had no problem beating Zephyr before, and he still sees him as something of a joke. You can bet he's completely taken by surprise then when this dude using Ares' new boons starts knocking Spider-Man around like a cat with some yarn. This new vibranium suit might be strong, but even it can't take sustained godly hits without Miles turning to mush on the inside. Also, in another grim bit of irony, Zephyr sees fit to try and literally steal the air from Miles's lungs by choking him to death, and he probably would have gotten away with it too, if ANANSI didn't end up playing another big fat trick, in this case going to THOR and HERCULES for help. Obviously, the ancient Greek hero and the god of thunder make short work of Zephyr beating the ever-loving crap out of him, while also being damn near as mean to him as Ares was. Oh, what's that? You're the god of the wind? Oh yes, you're one of my demigod cousins, you know, one of the really really lame ones. Oh, what's that? You think you want more respect? You think you're worthy of it? Well, tell you what, I'm Thor and I know a thing or two about worth. I'm gonna drop Mjolnir on your back, and the second you can move it, we'll talk about who's worthy and who's not. Miles is of course super happy to not be dead, and he admits that he would love to dap up the two godly superheroes, but unfortunately he can't, as he's pretty sure his arms are dislocated. He also has to deal with the fact that once again Anansi went into business for himself right now, and this whole situation with Ares and the War Dogs is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And indeed it does. At that very minute, Ares ends up walking through a portal with Agent Gao Warcry in tow. Now, you see, judging by the ancient divine pacts, the Olympian gods cannot actually make war on any of the other pantheons. This is why Ares was working through intermediaries, but Ares argues that because Olympus technically does not exist anymore, and hasn't since the events of Avengers No Road Home, that these ancient pacts should be null and void. Of course, Anansi just cannot stop talking and eventually ends up goading Ares into enacting the ancient tournament of the gods, a sacred rite held in high esteem by all the pantheons. Yes, that's right, everyone. Cody Ziegler loves anime so much and has taken so much inspiration for his Spider-Man story, we're actually getting a tournament arc. But for that, we'll have to check back on it next time. And so that was Miles Morales issue number 32, everybody, and I gotta say, this issue really helped buckle down and reestablish stuff after that last crossover event. I really cannot believe that there are some people out there who have the gall to say that Marvel has run out of ideas for Miles when he has literally done more in this last Ziegler run than Peter has done in, geez, like the last several runs put together. I mean, vampires, trip to Wakanda, new suits, adopted clone brothers, and now a literal tournament of power featuring the likes of Thor and Hercules. If anything, this series, and particularly this story, I think stands as testament to the fact that Miles is such a likable, malleable character. He can literally do anything whenever, and it makes sense. Also, man alive, is Ziegler really paying off the seeds he planted early on in the series? Miles going to therapy and actually growing his internal emotional life, as well as him becoming more interested in creative writing. It's just really great from top to bottom. Then you have all the little anime allusions there too. It makes this series feel completely unique and completely different than any other Spider-Man book on the shelf. It's fun, it's exciting, it's funny, it's wholesome, it's affirming. It's basically all the reasons people read comics all rolled up into one nice little package. Overall, I would give this one another well-deserved 8.5 out of 10, and I can't wait to see where this whole Tournament of the Gods arc goes. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.